Warning, there will be spoilers for The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5 beyond this point. If you haven't seen it, proceed with caution. You have been warned. When I watched The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5, titled Entombed, I was so concentrated on the story being eerily reminiscent of Indiana Jones' Raiders of the Lost Ark that I didn't even pay attention to a key piece of the story and how it intertwined with other Star Wars stories set some 5 years later. It took a couple of crafty comments by you guys to snap me back to reality and see what I missed in my first viewing. See, I do read the comments. When Phee Genoa, played by Wanda Sykes, convinces the clones of Clone Force 99 to go on an adventurous treasure hunt with her, what they find is something destructive and ancient, the heart of the mountain. But this episode may be something bigger than what some are calling filler. But before I go on, a quick word from our sponsor, me. Hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. Also consider joining the channel as a member to see the new fan fiction I've started regarding different points of view of Order 66. Now, back to today's topic, and stick around until the end to see my analysis of what this could all mean as far as the story of the Giant Guardian. When you watch the 5th episode of The Bad Batch, and if you're well-versed in some expanded universe stuff, namely the newer video games, you'll notice a similarity in the show to a fan-acclaimed story. The story is that of Cal Kestis, a young Jedi who survived Order 66. Although Cal's master was killed during the uprising of the Empire, Cal went into hiding, surviving, alone and hidden from the Empire on a scrap planet, where he worked as a laborer cutting down Republic-era warships. One day, while working on prepping a ship to be scrapped, the ship began to collapse. This sent Cal Kestis and his co-worker/only friend careening downward. In an effort to save his friend, Cal reached out with the Force to save him from falling to his death. This set off a chain of events leading the Imperial Inquisitors to him. As the Inquisitors chased Cal, he was picked up by a former Jedi and the captain of her ship, the Mantis. She informed him that there was a way to bring back the Jedi Order with the clues she has discovered. This set Cal on his own journey and adventure of discovery of an ancient race of beings called the Zepho. The Zepho, originating from a planet of the same name, were generally peaceful, but their connection to the Force led them to become corrupt and falling to the dark side. Well, some of them. With the Civil War raging, the Zepho tried to remain peaceful and undisturbed by outside influence. To ensure their temples and tombs would remain untouched, they constructed automatons that were programmed to guard against those who would seek treasure or plunder. These mechanical guardians had a central power core on their chests and could emit an energy beam that was catastrophic for those who awoke the ancient machines. Eventually, Zepho were left with just a few survivors of their civil war. The leader of the corrupt side had died, and the remainder of the civilization ventured out into the galaxy to finally have peace. Not much is known of the Zepho beyond this point, but their guardians remained on the planets which the Zepho had inhabited at one time or another. These guardians sit inactive until such a time when their temples or tombs would be disturbed. Then they would awaken and kill the intruders. Fast forward to a more modern time. When Wrecker and Omega return from a scrapyard with some needed items, Omega has collected, junk. But one piece is not junk at all. In fact, it's a compass that is said to lead them to an ancient treasure that would yield untold fortune on a planet of the Caldar trinary system. Phee Genoa convinces the clones that this adventure is one they won't want to miss out on. The system doesn't seem familiar by name, as we have never heard anything about it before. But when the team arrive on the planet, things begin to come together for us. The team must navigate through a mountain using Tomb Raider-style puzzles while avoiding death. But this is no ordinary mountain. Inside there are inscriptions and elaborate traps, all of which is the same style of the video game Jedi Fallen Order, especially when Cal Kestis reaches the planet Zepho. Eventually, the clones and Phee reach the treasure, the heart of the mountain as it's being called. But when removing the large crystal-like gem, the mountain comes to life, revealing a giant four-legged machine. Immediately, the machine begins emitting an energy beam which decimates everything in its path, which accounts for the scorched surface all over the section of the planet. Okay, so what? Energy-beamed weapons could have been made by any number of civilizations to protect treasure or ancient religious artifacts. True, but the similarities of this machine to that of the mechanical guardians of the Zepho temples and tombs don't end with the energy beams alone. When you play Jedi Fallen Order, especially when on the planet Zepho, you'll see the architecture inside the monstrous machine is exactly the same as that. The inscriptions are of the same origin as well, and the interior design is of the same influence. But there is one other key to the Bad Batch running scared from the same type of machinery that Cal Kestis bravely fought. Okay, they didn't really run scared, but anyone else would have. But the key is the design of the mechanical beast itself, mainly the design of its head. The flattened top portion is the same as the Guardians of Zepho and the Zepho themselves. The patterns in which the joints meet is similar, with overlapping metal panels resembling a knight's armor. Not to mention the portion of the machine where the beam releases is the same technology as that of the Zepho Guardians. Although the story of the Bad Batch may not go into the story of Cal Kestis, the clones happened upon the same thing as the Jedi Survivor did. While taking elements from one story and adding them to another really doesn't lead to much in the Bad Batch story, we can start to piece together other parts of the Star Wars universe from it. While we do see similar and more human-esque Guardians in the Jedi Fallen Order video game, the one dubbed Skara Null on the Caldar trinary system is much larger than anything we have seen of the Zepho to date, meaning this treasure, called the Heart of the Mountain, is much more important to the Zepho race. And there might be also something hidden that we don't see. And it doesn't look like the Bad Batch clones and Phee Genoa are the first to find it. Looking around at the landscape, this larger Guardian is activated on at least one other occasion, then deactivated after the gem was returned to its resting place or the plunderers were killed. But there arises another question. If the machine goes dormant after the return of the jewel, why does the heart melt and dissolve when Tech returns it to its rightful owner? It's obvious that others have tried to plunder it throughout the millennia, only to return it. But this time the jewel fades from existence. There are some possible answers that I've come up with. The jewel isn't the only thing this weapon is protecting. As I mentioned before, the Guardians of the Zepho were used standing watch over tombs and temples. This giant mechanical sentry could have dual purpose: guard the jewel and stand watch over a temple that is much more significant in size and importance than even that on the planet Zepho, thus leading us to a possible conclusion that the temple or tomb may have been stumbled upon in the past, awakening its guardian and destroying the planet in the process, and likely the invaders. But knowing all this makes one thing pretty clear. The 5th episode of The Bad Batch may not be following the story of a post-Order 66 galaxy at this time, but it is going into a larger story in the Star Wars universe that has only begun to unfold. In other words, it isn't just filler as some of us have assumed, me included. The possibility is that this may be the final resting place of the Zepho race, with Skara Null protecting them from raiders. With the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order set to release on next-gen consoles and PC in March, it'll be interesting to see if this storyline is continued, although the premise of finding the Zepho in the original game had a clear conclusion when Cal Kestis destroyed the holocron obtained from his adventures. I feel like the story of the Zepho could continue in this or any of the High Republic media. But let me know what you think in the comments. Have you played Jedi Fallen Order? Are you looking forward to the sequel, Jedi Survivor? I honestly can't believe I missed this important story plot and detail. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up. As a reminder, consider becoming a channel member in order to see how my Order 66 stories unfold. But that's all I have for today. Until the next video, this is Gerald, a Star Wars fanatic, signing off, wishing you all great health, happiness, and peace. Thank you all for watching, and remember, this is the way, and positivity in the Star Wars fandom is the only way.